All right, let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Today's webinar put on by ProCare Solutions is about creating loyal customers and lifetime referrals. And we all know the importance of that, especially after coming out of all these years of COVID and getting ready for the new year and what's ahead for your childcare business. So let's switch to our next slide. There I am. I'm Leah Woodbury. I'm the head of content for ProCare Solutions. I'll be kind of moderating, kind of not this webinar, asking questions at the end. So we do encourage you to ask those as well. A couple things to note about today's webinar. Don't worry, we can't see or hear you. Video and sound is off during the presentation. And we most definitely are going to have some time for questions and answers for our speaker at the end. So enter them in the question tab during the webinar. And do remember, you're going to get a recording of this a few days later. And if you're having technical difficulties, just exit out of all the other software on your device. A lot of time that works. And we'd like to talk to you a little bit about ProCare before we start. So we've been around for more than 30 years in childcare software. We have about 37,000 customers. We're the largest provider of childcare center management software. What we can do for you is an end-to-end solution. So we have it all in one cloud-based integrated platform. If you want to take a look at what's on your slide, the mobile app, we can help you manage your staff. Billing and payments is a big one that we can take off your plate. You have enough going on that's something that we can help you with, especially as you're thinking of the new year and thinking about end of year documents, taxes, that kind of thing. We want to be there to help you with that so you can focus on what's important, better outcomes for the children in your care. So if you have any questions about those, we'll give you contact information at the end, of course, but you can always find us at our website as well, procaresolutions.com. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to the woman who's going to give you some tips on creating those loyal customers and lifetime referrals. Julie Wassom is the president of the Julian Group and has more than 30 years experience in childcare marketing. She's a speaker, coach, author, and she has helped thousands of owners and directors build and retain significant enrollment in their programs. She works on site and virtually with those in ECE to help them generate qualified inquiries, secure enrollment, and get more revenue. So I'm going to hand that over to her. Welcome, Julie. We're so glad to have you today.
Thank you so much, Leah. And welcome everyone to this thought leadership webinar by ProCare. This one is, as Leah mentioned, on creating loyal customers and lifetime referrals. So we will talk a lot today about enhancing the customer experience to make sure your parents are really, really happy and bonded to your school, and also how to increase the positive referrals they give you and the reviews that so many parents use as a source of their investigation of early care and education. Before we get started, though, I want to just give a high five thank you to Rana Zayed and Leah Woodbury and Courtney McCann, who have worked with me over the last few weeks to help customize this session for you so that it's got in it things that are of the greatest value to all of you. So let's get started with the impact of length of time that parents are enrolled. The surveys show that there really is a correlation between parent satisfaction and the length of time they're in your center, because established parents are more likely to be happy, and happy parents are more likely to stay and to refer you. I like to say that the parent is the customer and the child is the customer's customer. Because if the child is happy and learning and hitting milestones of development, the parents tend to be happier. So we really have two customers, the parent and the child, the customer's customer. Happy parents will help create lifetime value for your school. And this is something that I really strongly recommend if you haven't taken a peek at the financial aspects, the revenue generated by a parent that you enroll early and hope to keep through their life cycle in your school before they age out, that's an important thing to do from a business management perspective, because it makes every enrollment conversion and retention even that much more important. So those happy parents stay, so they do create lifetime value. They also reduce marketing costs and time, because you don't have to replace them using your marketing techniques to generate inquiries and convert those new enrollment prospects. Also, those happy parents become loyal, enthusiastic referrals. They'll refer you at the moment early care and education is mentioned by someone, or even sometimes before someone has asked them for who they think would be a good school to consider. And then, of course, those are also parents who it's easy to ask for and get very good reviews. So let's look at some of the things that when parents enroll, what do they want right away? What do they need? Well, first of all, it's a tough choice for them. It's a very emotional decision. And so in addition to all the things that they read about, investigate, and talk to other people about, there's that feelings-based decision. So once they make that decision and enroll with you, they really need confidence that you were the right choice. And then they also want assurance of safety, especially now. Is their child going to be safe and as healthy as possible in your school? They want to trust that you're going to deliver on all those things that you promised them that you had and you would do. They also want their needs met. And sometimes that just goes back to convenience and how does it fit into their budget and the hours that you have that fit their family schedule, all those sorts of things. And they want their child to be happy and learning. They want to be informed about their child's activities, real time if possible. They also want to be included in the school family and community. You know, now parents look to a school not just for what it can give their child, but what kind of community can they build that they can grow with and even become friends with, that they carry through family community groups long beyond the time they're in your school. Once they're alumni, they're still friends and doing things together. So they're looking for that kind of community. And the bottom line to all of this is they really want peace of mind. So to help them know they're going to get this from you from the get-go and on an ongoing basis, it requires what I call customer relationship marketing. And I want to, before we talk about how to build customer relationship marketing into a strategy and tactics for you to use, I want to give you some tips on when are parents most vulnerable to withdraw after they've enrolled. The first time they are is in the first 3 months. I call this the probation period. They're on probation. You're on probation, really. They're watching to see if you're going to deliver like you said you would, if their child adjusts, if they feel comfortable. All those things that I just mentioned are important to them upon enrollment. That's on watch for the first 3 months. The next time is 6 months. So if you think about this, in 3 months, the highest enrollment period of time is usually in the fall. They may have registered back in February, but they start in the fall. 3 months later, it's the new year. That's the second highest enrollment time of the year, that January launch. And then 6 months later is summer. So these are vulnerable points when you really want to pay attention to your parents even more than you are on a day-to-day basis. The next one is a year from the enrollment date, particularly they're changing to a new class, a new teacher. That's a vulnerable time. And as we've learned in the last 3 years, in no uncertain terms, upon pandemic incident, parents will withdraw. Out of your control, but they will. So how are we going to keep all these parents happy? Let's look at the next slide. Your customer relationship marketing will require a key customer retention strategy, and that is to think in the parent's perspective. Now, any of you who've had any exposure to me or any of my writings before know that I kind of have a mantra that is think in the prospect's perspective, and that is very true. You do need to think in the prospect's perspective for inquiring parents looking to enroll with you. Once they enroll with you, they become your ongoing prospects for retention, for re-enrollment, for staying with you. So you do need to still think in the parent's perspective so that they make the choice to stay with you. And in order to think in their perspective, you have to know what they want. What do young parents want? Let's look at some statistics about who your parents are and what they want. I like to say, know me, know who I am, know me, or know me. So I've got here for you some updated statistics that I just recently picked up from several sources. One of them is the World Economic Forum, Statista, Infographics, Child Watch. There's several. And these are the things that in general they say. That millennials, most of whom that age group is a huge chunk of your customers, they are 26 to 41 years old. There are 79 million of them in our country, and they're 22% of the US population. The average age of a millennial's first child in the United States is 27 years old. And I really smiled when I saw this because I have a 32-year-old daughter who just had her first baby. So I thought, well, she's right in that average group. In 10 to 15 years, these 80% of millennials will be parents, and they're 37% of the workforce already. So they are the most educated in history of all the generational groups. They have very high expectations and not quite so much patience. It's limited. Now they will be brand loyal. When they find a brand, a center, a school, a company they really like, they will be brand loyal. This is also true for products and services in general for them. 97% of them have smartphones and they use them a lot. 25% look at their phones 100 times a day or more, and they use the phone for research using an acronym KBYG. And if you're not quite sure what that stands for, it stands for know before you go. So they are researchers. They are going to look a lot in the investigation stage. When parents are looking for early care and education, there are 3 stages. There's investigation, where they're looking at a lot of options. Then there is consideration, and that's where they have the short list. They're down to you and a few others, and they're looking at lots of reviews and talking to people more than they were just in investigation. They're online a lot. And then the 3rd stage is decision. So in this investigation stage, it's know before you go. 90% use social media daily. 72% prefer text. They will, though, schedule a center visit by phone. Because it is such a feelings-based decision and so important for their family in so many ways, including financially, they will receive a call from you and schedule a center visit on the phone. The rest of the time, though, they love their phones. They just don't want to talk on them. So 90%, 95% will read a text message within 3 minutes of receiving it. So think about that when you're sending out your communications to them. And 48% prefer to receive payment notices via text. So let's look a little more at what they expect from early care and education experiences. They want you as your school, as your center, even in your, if you have multiple centers, as your company brand, to provide for them more than just a service, but they want it, their early care and education experience for their family to be a learning path for their children to an advantage in school. And they want maximum value for their investment. Early care and education is a major investment still for young families, has been for years, and this has not changed. So they want the maximum value for that. They want non-traditional hours now. And if you think about that, even especially over the last 5 years, the working environment has changed so much, from at home to back at the office to hybrid to 4 days a week to share schedules. So non-traditional hours may be very important for your target audience of families. And that's something important for you to know and be able to give to them, to be competitive and to serve them in a way that they see as exceptional customer service. They like a variety of payment options. 21% of millennials have never written a check. 60% don't carry cash. They use credit cards and debit cards, and 43% use online banking. So they do online bill pay, mobile pay, parent portals where they can pay. They expect you to communicate with them the way they like to communicate, which is primarily electronically. They like information. The whole digital world is how they like to get their information, and not so much on paper. They also like you to follow up, follow up, follow up. One source of statistics said that engaging with a prospective family 7 times increases the likelihood of winning the enrollment by 20%. So that's with a prospective parent. But if that's that important to them in the conversion process, think about how important communication is to them in the ongoing customer experience process. They also really want you to be transparent in getting daily real-time posts with updates of their children to them. Some parents will even disenroll if they don't feel they're getting enough information on a regular basis of what their child is doing every day. So they also expect lots of internet browsing and research that you do and they do. And that means that they want you to have a very robust website. This is one that's easy to find, easy to navigate before touring your school, and easy for parents to use through parent portals and payment options, and even touring options. 74% ask for recommendations before they buy. So they take the reviews that you have on your website and in your email, and we'll talk about ways to do this a little later, but they take them very seriously. And they do, as I mentioned, like tour options on your website, self-scheduling tour options. Now, this is something that didn't used to be true. Parents would never schedule a visit to your school without talking with you. Now, though they will do it that way, they like the idea of scheduling it online, preferably on your website. And what about online enrollment forms? Well, there's a 65% completion rate now for online enrollment forms. So all these things about your target audience, mostly millennials, can help you structure your whole customer retention program so that you can put it together to really meet the needs exceptionally and exclusively from some of the competitive options that your parents might have. So let's move on to how to really do this. In customer relationship marketing, I want to ask a question before we really start with some of the techniques for exceptional customer service. And I'd like you to put your answer in the question and answer area that you have available to you here. Just 1 or 2 words. And here's my question. Who in your school or on your team is a very important, maybe even the most important, customer retention partner you have? Who is it in your school? Leah, do you want to tell us who has an idea?
Everybody's being pretty shy.
Okay. Think about one person in your school. It's not going to be one, it will be many.
We got a couple
now.
now.
Word.
We have the director of education, and we also have alumni.
Okay, those are both important. However, there's an integral partner in customer retention who's there in your school every day, who's a very important partner for you to include in the kinds of tactics you use to enhance the customer experience toward retention.
We have HR, and then we also have teacher.
Yay, teacher. It's teacher. The answer is teacher. Your teachers are key retention partners. Those others that you mentioned, and thank you for doing that, really matter. But your teachers are key retention partners because remember, they work with the customer's customer, the child, and how they work with you as a team to conduct exceptional customer service activities means they are part of your customer relationship marketing team. And it's important that you help them know how vital they are in that. So let's talk about some of the ways. There are lots of different ways to deliver exceptional customer service. We're going to talk about 3 of them today. You see 2 major ones here. The first one is you must ethically deliver. As soon as families enroll, welcome them. Have your teachers welcome them. And you welcome them as well, maybe formally, maybe even with a letter or an email that you send to them. You need to illustrate the quality program that you said you were going to deliver. Now, how can you do this? Well, you can do it with the availability of what you have visibly that they can see in the classroom. You can do it with documentation of learning walls. You can do it with the webinars and the parent presentations that you make available to them so that they know what the milestones are, how the children are reaching them, how you're delivering on this, what kind of program. If you say you have a Montessori program, exactly how is it being delivered? Or if you say you're Reggio, or if you say you're traditional, or whatever you do, how is that a quality program? Remember, these parents have high expectations and they expect you to deliver on them. So that's very important to them. Highlight those staff as delivery partners. One of the ways that you can do that is to have by each room or inside the door of each room, a teacher profile framed on the wall. That is a 1 sheet. I call it just a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. It has their teacher's picture on it, their name, the class they teach, and a little tiny bit of information that parents could really read at a glance almost. It can be bulleted. That might include their education. If they've been there a long time, tenure is important now. It might be that. And also, I like to see something personal on there, a quick read personal statement like that teacher's favorite children's book, or why they like to teach 2-year-olds. Having that out and also having a printout of that in something you might give them in print, like a parent packet, is a very good idea, particularly for your lead teachers and anyone that you know is a regular in that classroom. That highlights them as delivery partners. Also, it really encourage parent involvement. You see an image here of a mom reading a story. That's a wonderful little story that I want to tell you about. And this is a mystery reader in one of the schools that I've worked with. And that program is when a parent comes in once a week to this particular age group and older, it's usually preschool and older, that can do this. And the children know that on a certain day, there's going to be a mystery reader. It's always one of the parents reading an age-appropriate book, and the kids don't know who it is until that parent walks in the door. They get so excited about this, and the parents get excited about it. They take off work, they come in costume. It's really a neat thing to encourage parent involvement and include them. There are lots of other things. I had a school do a clay date night one time where the parents and the kids had a clay date, and they all came and made objects out of clay, and they had a wonderful time. So just that kind of involvement, as well as maybe involving them as parent ambassadors in your school, which we'll talk about a little more later. So another thing that's important in ethically delivering is paying attention to detail. It is so important to think about those things parents will notice and maybe not say anything to you about, but it influences their decision to stay there and to feel that you're delivering what you said you would. It can be simple little things like how a room smells, or a particular thing parents really care about is spelling. Is their child's name spelled right? Especially on their cubby, on communications, in the information that they text to them or give to them. Words need to be spelled right. You know, I was in a school in Virginia years and years ago, and I walked in, and it was summer, or almost summer, and they had a beautiful big bulletin board on the wall, kind of a long hall going down the rooms, and a wall. It was 3D, it was leaves sticking out, it was beautiful. And at the top it said, "Here comes summer fun." Only summer was spelled S-U-M-E-R. And I thought, oh, change that. Every parent walking in here sees that and has an opinion about that. So think about those little things that can make a difference to parents. Okay, another element of exceptional customer service is to communicate, communicate, communicate. And you want to initiate that through multiple venues. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, remember your wait list parents and what I call on hold families that you need to initiate communication with. And remember that your communication needs to be, any online communication needs to be mobile friendly, because where are your parents? On their mobiles. So make sure your website and anything else you send out online is mobile friendly. Let's look at some of the ways that are multiple venues to communicate an exceptional customer service. Of course, face-to-face is wonderful, but you know how parents are. They come in, they're rushed, if they can even come in your center yet, and most can now come into the schools, but some are still not doing that. So what's your face-to-face communication with them? Text, remember they like text. So texting is really good now. Apps are so great. And your ProCare is providing an app for you now. And I believe it's October 25th. Is that right, Leah? Is doing a webinar on how to use the ProCare real-time activity app.
Please try again.
I will check on that, but that does sound right. Those days at the end of October blend together for me, but I'll let you know at the end.
Okay, that sounds great. I know it's the end of this month, so
Yeah,
you'll tell us what date to put on the calendar later. But
sure.
That's something parents like, that photo, that little real-time message, what they did today. Very important thing to do. You can call them every now and then. Don't be upset if you get voicemail. They like to know you're touching base. Email is very important. Website, all these things are in marketing are called layering. You don't want to do just one of these. You want to mix them all together. Changing up your website, having information in your parent portal for them on the website, and of course, some things in print. So let's look at a group that's often forgotten, and that is your waitlist parents and your on-hold families. Now, the way I distinguish this is those waitlist parents are those parents who have had you put them on their waiting list, whether you charge a fee or not, because they want to enroll with you, but you either don't have space, or perhaps you don't have a teacher in that classroom yet, or something, and they can't get in, even though they would like to. Your on-hold parents are those parents who've expressed an interest, or even maybe paid you a registration fee, but they're not going to start yet by their own choice. Maybe they want to wait till January, or they're still a little concerned about children getting sick, COVID, and bringing it home to grandma or something like that. These parents are still in a holding pattern with you. And the waitlist parents are somewhat in a holding pattern with you. So what's important in retaining those parents that you already have interested and sometimes committed to coming to your school? Well, first of all, you need to initiate regular communication, not just where they are on the waiting list or waiting for them to ask you that, but regular communication, just how their child is doing, what's coming up that they can join in on, even though they're not in your school yet, letting them know new things you've learned about that are good for parenting. Also, something that I learned about from directors actually is to provide porch pickup activities. And Kathy Peschke, I never can pronounce her name right, another person who is at Hinge, a company called Hinge Consultants, suggested that this was a great idea too, and I loved it. And that is that teachers provide an activity for their age group, and they put it in a little paper bag, and they if there are loose parts, they put that in with it for this activity. And then those, along with instructions on how to do the activity, are left on the porch for parents to pick up. And they know that, let's say Tuesday is the 2-year-old room, or 3-year-olds, or whatever. And those parents know that that's a day they can get a porch pickup. It's also really good for your existing customers, not just waitlist and on-hold families, but including them in this is a great idea. Include the virtually in school events. If you're going to have a school event that you can include these waitlist and on-hold families, they might really enjoy that. And also teacher forums if the teachers are going to do something specific. Update them on safety protocols, because as you know, there's still a lot of concern about what's the next wave and how are you going to remain extremely safe. And I know a lot of schools did a lot of work during COVID to make sure their schools are extra safe. So share those with them. Use parent ambassadors to connect. These are the folks in your school who are really happy with your services, and they're willing to help you with a select group of parents. Maybe it's inquiries, maybe it's brand new parents, maybe it's veterans that you just want to check in with, parents who are moving to new classrooms, or their children are aging out. But you can also use parent ambassadors to communicate with your waitlist and on-hold families. And if you want to know more about building a parent ambassador program, check my blog on my website. It's juliewassom.com. I've done several articles and blogs on this, and it can help you develop that kind of program. So also, you must know your competitor incentives. What are your competitors offering? Just because these folks are on wait list and on hold, they're still being marketed to by your competitors. So what is it that you have that's unique and different from your competitors? And one way to communicate this to them, to your waitlist and on-hold families, is through something I like to call a documentation of differences. This again is a one sheet that has what it is that's unique about you and what that does for the family, the child, the family. So the benefit of it. Let's say you have lower staff ratios than is required in your area, or maybe you do have long teacher tenure, or maybe you have stronger safety protocols than you know your competitors have. You list a couple of bullets of what those are, and then what's the benefit, for staff longevity. It's the bonding. For the lower staff ratios, it might be the attention the child gets, those kinds of things. And it's on a branded one sheet, and you can send those out via email or to your waitlist and on-hold families, so they feel a real part of your school. And of course, when it's time for them to have a space, you want to be sure and contact them in enough time for them to get everything set up and get the materials, fees taken care of, and all of that. Okay, so please feel free as we go through this, I know it's rapid, to put any questions in the Q&A box, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of the session. The last element here that we're going to discuss today is ask what they think. You've got to ask what your parents think on an ongoing basis. And here's several ways to do that. The first way is satisfaction surveys, which are a more common way. However, if you are not doing a satisfaction survey with your current parents at least once a year, maybe even every 6 months, you're missing an opportunity to know what they expect from you in their customer experience, so that it's exceptional and so they want to stay. So those are very important. I love this quote that says, we don't learn from talking, we learn from listening. So I love what is known in the industry as focus groups, but I like to call them listening campaigns, where you get groups of parents together, ask specific questions. It can be online or in person, a Zoom meeting, or they're actually in a room where you just discuss some basic expectations, some satisfaction levels, some things they'd like to see changed. And it's really interesting how when they know you're going to be serious about this and make the changes and keep asking them, they start to really tell you. These are not whining sessions. These are real information sharing sessions. So, and I know you do a lot of asking face-to-face, but that's always a good thing every now and then to do, is to ask them, how's it going for you? What's the most wonderful thing that your child expressed this week about their experience here? What would you like to see change that maybe we haven't noticed? It's okay to ask them that face-to-face. Also, your parent ambassadors that I was mentioning before can outreach about this. What are some of the things that you'd like to have that you didn't you expected but you didn't see? And in a withdrawal, if they do withdraw, a withdrawal letter and a survey are an important thing to do. And tracking any responses. You don't usually get a high response rate to withdrawal letters and surveys, but you do start to see patterns of things that maybe you can change. Now, in any survey, there's a question that you always need to ask. So if you've got a pencil, I want you to write this down. And this question is this: what did you expect that you are not yet receiving? What did you expect that you are not yet receiving? Because when you ask that, a parent will tell you, and it may be something little like clean the door, the front door, or there's a pothole in the parking lot that I always bump my car into, or, maybe something small, but it may be something else that you really need to know about operations in your, or staffing in your school. Okay, so this is a lot of information, but I want us to move along and take a peek before we go to the next topic at an idea for surveys that can really help you get more of them back. This is one that ProCare sent out just recently via email. It's part of an email that they sent. And the technique I want you to notice in it is that they not only offered a QR code and a link for the survey, but they said by completing the survey, you will be eligible to enter a drawing to win one of 5 Apple iPads. That means they gave an incentive for returning the survey. And the incentive is something that is of value to the people who they want to have participate in the survey. That's a good technique that you can adapt and use in your surveys. Another thing is that you can mention, as they did in this email, ProCare did in this email, that the participants will receive a report of the results and perhaps even some of the changes that are going to be made because of the results of the survey. That again makes parents know you take this seriously, then they take it seriously and respond. So just a little tip for you to apply. Let's move on now to increasing your referrals. Over 90% of parents consider referrals when looking for a school. That's huge, just huge. And I like to say they get them 2 ways. One is word of mouth, talking to each other. The other is this is a term coined by Chip Donahue, who's a tech guy in the early care and education industry, and it's word of mouse, where they're looking online, they're looking at reviews, they're reading about you, they're looking at websites, that investigation, know before you go thing. So the referrals are really important in that first stage of investigation, consideration, and decision. So getting more referrals, good referrals, can help your marketing efforts and make it so much easier for you to generate qualified inquiries. Who are your partners in generating these leads? First of all, of course, is your parents. And those happy parents are the ones that will generate the good referrals for you. The other group, and somebody mentioned it as a partner, good for you, is your alumni. Parents who have been with you and happy for years, just because they age out of your school doesn't mean they're not going to refer you. So you want to keep in touch with them and pay attention to them and maybe even do a referral program just for them, or at least include them in yours. Another is staff. Staff can often refer not only children and families, but other staff. So thinking about having a very specific program for staff referrals is another good idea. And last but not least, for sure, is the greater community. These are people like the pediatrician or the realtors in your area, or you never know who it can be. I want to tell you a little story that a director actually in the Pacific Northwest told me. She was in a school that was being built, a new school, and she was in that stage where you're enrolling families and getting ready for kickoff. And she had a parent come in who was a nurse. And when the director asked that very important question, what are the ways you heard about us, which you should all ask, by the way, to get more ideas of what are the sources your parents are using to come to your school. This particular mom said, well, the plumber told me. And the director said, the plumber? Tell me more about this. And the mom said, well, I work in that hospital a couple of blocks down the street here, and we were having some plumbing work done, and our plumber happened to overhear me talking to one of my colleagues about really needing to find a good early child care program. And the plumber said, I'm sorry, I overheard you. I'm not trying to interfere, but have you looked at that school a couple blocks down the street? It's brand new and you might want to go over and visit it. And he said, the only reason I know about it is because I was involved in the construction team, and I've never installed such tiny toilets anywhere in my entire career. Teeny tiny little ones. So go over there and check it out. So the mom did, and she ended up enrolling. So that referral came from the plumber. And so the moral to the story there is you never know where your referrals in the community can come from. So you always want to have a positive image and communication with those people who could be referrals for you. All right, let's look at the next way that you can have a good, strong referral program. There are some key elements. There are actually 3 of them. One is program design, one is promotion of your program, and one is the analysis or the evaluation and revision of your program. So let's look at program design for a really good, solid, successful referral program. First of all, you need to identify which of these groups is going to be the one this program is for. Who are those referrals? Is it parents? Is it alumni? Is it the general community? Because that will help drive what the acknowledgement gifts are for those referrals. For instance, for your parents, it may be a contribution to the next tuition or a reduction in their next tuition, but that wouldn't really work for alumni referral programs because they're not there. Also, are you going to have gifts for the referring parent and the new enrollee? Many programs offer something to the referring parent, and that parent who enrolls gets something like a reduction on the registration fee or materials fee or something like that. That's important to them. Also look at timelines. Many schools have a waiting period before the referring parent gets their acknowledgement gift. For instance, the new parent that has enrolled must stay for, let's say, 30 days. Or some just wait till they make their first payment, or whatever works for you, but figure it out for your specific program. And don't make it too long a wait for the referring parent. Also, you can do special promotions. Let's say you really need before and after school kids in your program. You could do a month-long promotion that you let everyone know about for any referrals of B&A children. The acknowledgement gift is doubled, or it's the regular acknowledgement gift and something else like tickets to an upcoming Children's Kid Fest or the zoo or something that you know is important to your parents. And after the end of the month, that drops back to your regular referral program. These can work really well to help just kind of bump up and remind parents that this referral program is in effect, and who do they know that could be good in the community, in your center, and for the school and for the child. And also, what are the public acknowledgement venues? You always, of course, want to personally thank them for their referrals, but are you going to publicly acknowledge them in your newsletter communications? Do you have something put up in your school to acknowledge referrals, recent referrals? So think about those. Those are all important in the program design. Now let's look at program promotion. Because if you have a wonderfully designed program, but you don't promote it, it is not going to be as successful as if you promote it. Where can you promote your referral program without being pushy about it? You can put it periodically in your school news, however you deliver that. We appreciate your referrals. Thank you so much to these people who referred us in the last month. Something like that reminds parents. Or of the upcoming promotion that you might be having for a month. You can put a line in your email signature. You can also put it in social media. This is an example of a social media piece that this is a client that I've worked with recently. And this is something when we were working on their referral program, that they put together just a brief little piece that's in their branded colors and image. And this says the biggest compliment our families can give us is to refer us. And it tells what the referral acknowledgement gift is for referring parents and the offer they're giving to newly enrolled parents that have been referred. So there's something for both and a quick thank you. That's something that can go in social media, that can go in a flyer, it could be a poster, it could be on a bulletin board. It's something for sure, if you have it in print and you give out print parent packets, to slip in there. If you do it online, include it. And you can just have reminders of your referral program in special parent meetings and on center visits or tours. So this element of promotion is important. The last element is, of course, evaluating them. Very important, at least annually, look at your referral program and look at it from, does the program structure work for us? Should we do one like this for staff or differently for alumni? Or how should we do it in the community with our pediatrician friends and our realtor partners and the gym down the street, or whoever could be a good referral source for you? Does the acknowledgement gift give you a good return on that investment? In other words, in the number of good qualified leads and referrals and conversions that you get. And are you using the right kinds of mix or layering of promotional venues? And are you doing it often enough? That's called frequency. So you want both reach in the different venues and frequency. And that will help you know how to restructure your program. Okay, so we're just going to talk a bit about generating positive reviews. Why do the online reviews matter? Well, like I said before, it is one of the 3 top sources that parents consult when considering a school. They investigate, remember, and then they consider schools, and they really look at reviews. Friends and family is more in that investigation stage, but also in consideration. Online reviews, heavily looked upon in the consideration stage to help them know who do they want to visit, talk to, spend their time with, and decide upon, choose. And also, internet search is a high source parents consult. So you want to make sure you have good, fresh reviews on the internet where they can find you. Okay, let's look at how to get them. So some of the ways are just personally ask parents to post a review, even if they've said something wonderful to you that they really like, just asking them by saying, you know, I so appreciate that. Would you mind just putting those 2 sentences into a review for us? I'd be happy to help you find us on Yelp, or you can look for us on Google, kind of direct them as to where to go. You can also text or email review requests. Just make it part of a personal conversation and consider who to ask. You want the ones that you know are really happy. Offer to help parents doing it. Like I mentioned, just help them find you on Yelp and so on, and encourage the parents to make their review personal. Set a goal for 2 to 5 new reviews per month. You need fresh reviews. You don't want a review of a child who's now in your BNA program and the review is when they were a toddler or an infant. That's a good review, but could you get a new fresh one? Pardon me. And thank parents who post a review. So how are you going to then extend the reach of your positive reviews? I think it's important to have them on your website throughout. And I do like a reviews page. It can be a back page, but a page where parents can go look at a lot of them. And then throughout your site. Videos are incredibly valuable places to put short, good, positive, personal reviews. Keep these videos very short, but strategically placed, particularly on your website. Update your reviews regularly. Keep them fresh, like I said, so that even new parents going back to your website will see a new review. That's very important. The one that you see at the bottom, I could tell was a new review. It's fresh because one of the comments in it was about how important this company's Bright Horizons backup care was, that when they experienced unexpected losses of care during the pandemic. So you know that's a fairly fresh review. And that was right on their website. You can put a review, a short, quick review, in your email signature. Just remember to rotate those, change them every couple of months if you do that. And to your prospects who you're following up with, sending them a link to the reviews page on your website is a good idea. So I know I've given you lots of good ideas and several strategies and tactics that I'm hoping it's helpful for you to know and that you can put right to use in your school. So this is the end of our session today on creating loyal customers and lifetime referrals. It's again open for questions. And if you would like more information on this topic, in the September-October issue, just recently published of Exchange Magazine, I have an article called Tactics. I even have it here, Tactics for Increasing Retention, Referrals, and Reviews. You can get that, excuse me, from Exchange Press or through the end of this month, they have given me permission to send out a PDF of this article to any of you who would like to have it. Just email me at julie@juliewassom.com, put Exchange article, and I'll just send you an attachment of this article so you can read it. Also, I have lots of blogs on different topics we've touched upon today on my website under resources. That's at juliewassom.com. And also there is a contact page where if you'd like to get the weekly enrollment tips, they're 60 seconds, they're complimentary, they're free. They come every Tuesday into your inbox. It's a little video, short video. You are welcome to get those. Just go to the contact page and say, please subscribe me and send me those. We don't put you on a list for any other kind of promotion. You just get the 60-second enrollment tips. So hopefully all of that can be helpful to you as well. I so appreciate everyone's attendance. And Leah, why don't we spend some time answering questions and finding out when that webinar on the app is? Can you tell us?
I can tell you about the webinar for sure. It is October 25th, and we'll go through everything the ProCare mobile childcare app can do as far as sending real-time outlet updates, excuse me. You can make payments, which you were talking about millennial parents are into. So we're happy to walk you through that, October 25th.
Okay, thank you, Leah.
Yeah, and we had our first question from an attendee. She just had this fall a few families move out of state and even to London. Do you advise, do you advise keeping in touch with those families, or do you have any other ideas on how best to communicate with them?
That is a great question. And with the mobility of families now, not just throughout the United States, but globally, it is something we have to consider. What I would recommend is that you put them in a tickler file, particularly if you have the customer relationship management systems available to you now, that you tickler to send them just an email or a text with an update quarterly.
Oh, okay.
Just to keep in touch quarterly. And as time goes by, and particularly if you don't hear back from them at all, you can move that to twice a year, maybe half yearly. So that the reason you do that is because they've been part of your family for a while and you want them to know you still care about them, and they are a lifetime referral source, no matter where they are. So good idea to stay in touch.
And could you please give your email address one more time?
Sure. It's Julie, Julie, at juliewassom, Juliewassom, like in mom.com. Julie at juliewassom.com.
Okay. Next question. So when you were talking about the reviews,
Yes.
How do you deal with negative reviews?
That's a tough one because you may get some. There are some ways to approach having them pulled down, but also I think it's an important message to you that perhaps it warrants a conversation. If that parent has given their name, or if you've got a way to address it that doesn't sound defensive. With them privately is my preference. And that's another reason that it's so important to always be asking, what did you expect that you're not yet receiving? What is it that we could change that would make you feel we are delivering a better customer experience for you? You know, those kinds of questions on an ongoing basis to your existing customers, because it prevents those kinds of negative reviews. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful.
I think we have time for one more question. Is there one social media platform that you find is more effective or successful in getting the word out about your center?
That's another interesting question because you have to know who your prospects are. For some, it is Facebook. For others, it is Twitter or Instagram. So one of the things you need to ask your parents is, what are the ways you looked for us? What are the ways you like to communicate on social media? Where did you look to find us? And as you start to see that pattern, that's very important for where you need to be. And do they like do they like Facebook groups, or do they just like to go and look at an Instagram feed? What do they like to do? Know your prospect and then communicate with them the way they want to communicate.
Great. And I do just want to add too as well, we have the registration link for the webinar next week on the Child Care mobile app. It's in the chat. So we love to see everybody there and answer your questions as well. But thank you so much, Julie, for all this great information today. This was, super helpful, I'm sure, as centers navigate what comes next and get ready for everything. And we would love to hear from all of you as well. As you could just see the QR code and the website that is now on your screen. Contact us for a demo if you have any more questions about how we can help you do some of the things that Julie suggested. When she was talking about 21% of millennials have never written a check, our online processing, we can set up the recurring payments automatically. So you don't have to make those trips to the bank, but that's just one way. So, and we do have an e-documents feature that is really handy for getting documents signed and returned versus those big old stack of papers. So thanks again, Julie. Thanks to everyone who joined us. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.